No.
So that wasn't a problem to him, the inspector? Okay, no door, alrighty.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Hello, welcome to the Red Pill News Dispensary. This is the Red Pill. So okay, just need to make sure I'm live. So if I can get a 5x5, a yes, anything like that, please. Oh, I had to start it here. All right, am I? It should be live, but you're live. Okay, good. Okay, all right. So today is gonna be a call-in show. I gotta tell you guys, I just want to thank. I mean, the plethora of emails I've gotten on the on. Well, there's gonna be videos coming out. I need to be careful what I say. Other things, that I can say, very, very interesting intel. I don't know if I'm ever going to get this Notre Dame thing done because just this rabbit hole, it's not like one of those rabbit holes I'm getting lost in. It's one of those rabbit holes that I have a notebook and I've been writing notes. I have 15 pages full, like front and back, of notes. And, I kind of take from those notes what, not everything is, you can't believe everything that is in an email. You can't believe everything you see on the internet. So I vet it all. Some of it I'm able to, because I have conflicting, and you're able to, by doing it with it. I like it when I have conflicting reports, because then I'm able to, by vetting it and looking at the information, I'm able to tell what's real, what's not. Sometimes both of them aren't real, but I feel pretty good about how I've been able to get to the truth, or at least as close to the truth as you can get without, having being there firsthand. It's Friday night, so I have a babysitter, and I don't think my daughter's too happy about that, as you can probably hear in the background, so I apologize. But tonight is about calls. And there's one call I'm expecting in particular that I would like to get him first. I had spoken to him, and he's a very educated, well-informed man, and that's all. I just like to get to him because I just enjoy talking to him. I think you guys would just kind of like to hear him. So if you guys want to put the phone number in the chat, also the phone number is in the description, or at least it should be. Sometimes, even though I put it in the description, I'll check the description. There's nothing there. Now, I'm not saying that YouTube messing with me. That's probably me making a mistake. Because when you for those of you who make videos, you can create an event, or you could do a stream now. Like in this situation, I meant to make an event, but I did a stream now, and which is why I was a couple minutes late. But if somebody's calling right now, I'm sorry. The phone for some reason just shut off, and it's definitely not out of battery. So I'm gonna tell you right now when the phone's on, and then hopefully the gentleman that I had spoken to can call. Nothing too crazy. He's just a smart man, and I think he'd be interesting for the show. Let's see, and it's loading. Let's see. All right, so call away. It's ready. It's on. So please, I would like to get my special guest on first. So if you want to call me, or I could call you. Usually, I have people call me, but then during the calls, other people will call. I put them in queue, which isn't really fair. People who wait until after a call should be able to call in. It's kind of not fair that in the middle of a call, someone calls, which I'm not going to say rude, but, you shouldn't do. I'm going to allow that. So I'm not, the way we're going to do it is just at the beginning now. During the call, you can call. And I'll just, once there's a break in the talk, I'll say, your state and let you know that you're next. So the phone's on. Just waiting. In fact, I got a voicemail. You know what? I'm just gonna. Huh. I got a voicemail from that person. It looks like he might have just left it because the phone was off for some reason. It has 50% battery, so I'm trying to call him and let him know I'm live. And just let them know I'm live. I tried. How many people we got in here? Can someone put... This is... Is there any way to calm her down?
I'm just trying to show... No, because she wants some Twizzlers, and I'm telling her all she has to say is please, and she won't say it. She's screaming.
Alright, just give it to her, because I'm live.
No, there's no way you do it.
Listen, hey. I'm live. Alright, so I'm just going to tell him call when you're ready. Oh, here he is. Alright, good.
Are you there?
Hello, this is the Red Pill Dispensary. How you doing?
It's me from Virginia.
Hi, Virginia. All right. Sorry I was a couple minutes late there. As you can tell, it's kind of craziness here, and but we're here. We're live, and just whatever you want to talk about. I'm gonna let you take the wheel.
I came across something interesting that you probably heard about, and I have a comment about it. Have you heard in the last maybe month or two something called the Deagle Population Statistics Report?
Yes, yes, I heard that like a while ago. Yeah, it's funny. Well, it's not funny, but all the countries. It looks like the one that basically our population is going to be like decimated, like to 1/6, or
I have a comment on that. When I saw that, first of all, Deagle itself.
I saw it on my Google.
Right. When I looked up Deagle on the internet, its own website claims to be a government source provider.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so interesting. It's like, wow.
Right. Okay. When I went to the website and I read the entire thing myself, it stood out very clearly to me instantly what it was about. This is my opinion. It can't be verified. But if you go to the United States government website, which lists where all the nuclear bombs are stored, okay? Now, that's a government website. I don't know how true it is. Most of the American nuclear weapons are stored either in the United States or in Germany. And those are the two countries on the Deagle report that showed a huge population loss. Nobody else does.
That's a great find. That's a great find. Great analysis. Because so many people are trying to figure it out why.
Right.
Because this is a legitimate website, Deagle. And do you have the? Go ahead.
Also, the part about the atom bombs. I mean, that's also government website. Now, I don't. And the thing that strikes me is this: if somebody in the Pentagon or some group, doesn't have to be the president, doesn't have to be official, if some group decides to trigger a war, some kind of a rogue group, the Russians have said over and over again, the moment that they know for a fact that trigger has been pulled, they will attack. They are not going to wait for a single bomb to fall on their territory. They've reported almost yearly in U.S. in Russian government reports from the Department of Defense, from the Prime Minister's office, that if they are attacked, they will attack first. So that is through their NSA type of surveillance. If they hear through their surveillance this action has been triggered, whether or not the president knows about it or not, then they are going to attack. They've said that 10 times at least, year by year by year. Don't attack us or we'll attack you. So that was the logic of this Deagle report, is that happened. That in other words, somebody tried to spring an attack on them, and they were taken down for it.
Yeah, actually, there was some intel that I came across, and at the time, I called into actually the Mafugel show, and I knew that he knew about it. I've called multiple times. This is the last call I've made. I don't know what's going on, but like lately, it feels like, I don't know, maybe they don't want me on the show. But the last time I called, I talked about. I tried to get him to say it. I tried, not because I don't want to say it, but because, I just figured, he might want to announce it, right?
Right.
At this time, my channel was smaller. And instead, he just talked about troop movements, all that. So it looked like he didn't want to say it, but I'll say it. There was reports. I don't want to say confirmed reports, but I don't want to say unconfirmed either, because I was hearing them from different sources that have nothing to do with each other. So that says something to me, that some type of weapon came across the border and it was neutralized. This is about 3 weeks ago. And a very dangerous weapon. Let's just say that.
Right.
And it was found in a truck, and the truck was designed to, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So we're talking one of the, you know what I mean? Something people have trouble pronouncing it sometimes.
But there have been many reports over the past 15 years about weapons being stolen and sold to the cartels. When the government of the Ukraine was overthrown in 2014, a number of nuclear weapons that were Russian-owned went missing at that time, because there was a lot of Russian military hardware in the Ukraine when that happened. And those were, of course, stolen by the mafia of Eastern Europe, who then sold it wherever they wanted to sell it or keep it. So that's another possibility. But then that also brings up a very complex topic of which I have no knowledge, really, is that the government of Russia reports over the years on a regular basis updates on their technology. These usually come right before their May Day parade, which I recommend you watch when it's up in another 10 days. May 1st, they have their May Day parade or whatever.
Yeah, and May Day is always a certain day. You're right. It's one of those Luciferian. Yep.
No, it's not Luciferian at all for them. It has to do with when the war ended.
Well, yeah.
Formal ending, and so they celebrate it because they're memorializing all the people who were killed in Russia, like 20 or 30 million people.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The May Day parade, they have the day before the military parade. They have a parade of civilians. Usually, there's more than 1 million who come out in the street, each holding a photograph or a portrait of their ancestor who died in World War II. So it's a very alive memory there. It's not like here. That's not like a TV show. Every family has many members of their family who died. So it means they hate war. They don't love war. They don't celebrate it. Then the next day they have the military parade in front of the president, and what happens is the latest weaponry is shown. So you as a military, you having your background should watch that to see what they're parading by. To me, I don't have a clue what I'm looking at. But they traditionally like to display some of their latest technology.
Yeah, and Trump wanted to do that, and I think he's actually going to do it this coming Veterans Day.
Yeah.
Hey, that'll be interesting too.
Because again, according to the reports that I've been reading over the past decade or longer, according to, you can say it's propaganda. Personally, I don't believe it, but I think it's true. Their technology is at least a decade or 2 decades ahead of the Americans. And again, there's a famous story which I presume you heard. I'd be surprised if you hadn't. When the Americans were overthrowing the government in Ukraine in 2014, right about afterwards, the Americans sent a Navy ship into the Black Sea coasting next to the Ukraine border there. And this American ship was in Russian waters, okay? It was a battleship of some sort. Well, a Russian jet flew over it and disabled every electronic part of the ship instantly. They had a beam weapon. They beamed it onto the ship. The ship was disabled. It could not move. None of their communications worked. Every part of the ship that had any kind of an electronic component was killed instantly.
Wow. Virginia, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm not interrupting. Just please continue what you're saying. It's just I have to walk away for 2 seconds to handle something. And as for Hope in the USA, you're disgusting talking like that about my daughter. You know what? As soon as I'm going to block you as soon as I'm done with this call. Dirtbag. All right. Thank you, Virginia. If you could just take it away. I just got to take care of this. I'll be right back in literally 10 seconds.
Sure.
No, what I mean is continue. For the audience.
Because these were reports that were in American mainstream media, and what they said was that the ship that was going along in the water there got disabled, and it had to be towed back to the American base in Romania by 2 other American ships that were sent to carry it away. They also reported that when it got to Romania, that a large portion of the officers, Navy officers of this American ship, this is 2014, quit. They were so shocked that their technology was useless and that it was so easy for them to be disabled by the single plane flying over them. So that's the story that I read in mainstream press, in many sources, and I've read it repeatedly. And I think it would be easy to research on the internet. I mean, maybe I can do that and send it to you. But I'm just saying that because of that story and a few others, but mainly that one, it's possible that their technology is quite advanced. I don't know. It's not. But that just fits into the Beagle thing. That's the only reason I brought it up. Then I had a second topic, or a short one after that, when if you want to respond to any of this. But one can just say that it's propaganda, that they're saying they have this and they have that. Well, that's of course very possible. There's a lot of stories that come from different parts of the world. If you read news from Asia, from all over parts of the world that are not American mainstream, some of these stories pop up. So that's the story. Now, the second topic I have is a little bit different than that, but I think that we also want to ask, and I think you would be, as an analyst, would be the one to do it. What would be the purpose of spreading this evil report? Why? What does it benefit by doing that? Is it some sort of a signal? I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that. I think it's very peculiar, and especially since the sources are government, and maybe it's an internal signal to people inside the government. I don't know. I simply don't know, and it's very, very strange. I don't see any other logical explanation for the population. The population discrepancies that the article describes. And it's certainly possible, I suppose, but we hope that doesn't happen. Furthermore, they even give it a dateline for that to happen, which is, again, not at all logical. I mean, why would they do that? And, of course, then that has led to all kinds of very peculiar speculations by people such as Marfugel, which I don't remember what he said, but it really was not very logical. I don't blame him. It's a puzzle. It's certainly a puzzle. So I'm waiting for you to return. I guess you're taking care of the kiddo there. And I don't really recommend people go down rabbit holes. I think it's more important to deal with what's right in front of us, to try to make people clear-minded and strong. And, of course, it is valuable to see through a lot of the misinformation which is put out there. Unfortunately, there's an awful lot of it, to the point where I think many people feel that, they can sense that, and they just think, well, we're going to stop watching it altogether. It's just not worth being given to deal with data that is obviously got something wrong with it. So but that's where we're at. We don't have a choice, do we? We have to deal with the situation as it is. And I guess that's
Olivia, it's time for bed.
Hello?
I'm right here, sir. I'm right here.
Yes, I'm here. I hope I'm not babbling too much.
No. I mean, that's why I at the beginning of the show, I told the audience, I said, please just wait. I have one person I want to get on first. We had a long, great conversation today, and you are just a wealth of information.
But I don't have a strong opinion about it one way or the other. But I have been reading data from a lot of wide sources overseas for years, and of course, after doing that for a long, long time, eventually you get a sense of when something fits right, it seems right. That's not factual data necessarily, but you get an instinct about data and what it really is about. And there have been a number of reports besides the one the famous one about the naval ship that was disabled. There have been other incidents that are not quite that dramatic that did happen, for sure. So that's something. Do you want me to look up that and try to send it to you? Would that be helpful?
Well, actually, I am very well read on the disabling of the ships, even planes. I mean, being in the Navy, that piqued my interest big time. That I took that personally. It's just and I knew what it was right away, just because of what I did in the military. There's certain capabilities and the thing is, this isn't political, but when Obama was president, yes, our military depleted a little bit. We also got some equipment from China, but that's what people think it is. I don't think that's what it is. I think they literally just were able to hack our systems. And I don't know how, because we have such well-protected systems on those ships, but something happened. Something happened, and it was China. It's always in the South China Sea. I mean, it's pretty
So this
obvious.
was the one I told you about was in the Black Sea, though.
Oh, you're talking about the Black Sea.
Yes, in Russia. In 2014 is when that happened.
Oh, well, you know what? Like I said, I was away. I was taking care of the situation.
Yeah,
With
and
my,
what happened was when the ship was disabled,
I thought you were talking about
it
South
couldn't-
China. Sorry.
it couldn't move, and so it was stuck there, and they were able to. Well, the Americans sent 2 more ships to tow it back to the American naval base in Romania, where they were. And then when the ship arrived back in Romania, maybe it took a couple of days to tow it. A large portion of the officer class resigned. They quit their service because they were so shocked at the situation that had happened, and they lost confidence in continuing a military career. That's also a fact.
Now,
I remember
somebody had
there
a
were
question
like
for
30
you.
officers.
30 officers. Wow.
Yeah, it was a significant number. Now this was I don't know anything about ships. I remember the photograph of it. I would say it looked kind of like a smallish, middle-sized ship. It looked more like a kind of a ship that would be tracking stuff. It
Yes.
didn't look like a battleship. Like a huge ship. But
Yeah. I'd have to see a picture. I don't
yeah,
want
you'd
to.
have to see a picture.
Yeah, I'd be able to tell if I saw a picture. But there was a question in chat. So, ask the caller who produced that report. It sounds like Deagle
Oh,
report.
the Deal report is about the population.
Yeah, that's why I was confused by the question. The Deagle report's something totally different. That's about a prediction of the population in
Correct.
what's the year 2025 2025
It's 2024. I think.
2024.
I have it here.
Yeah, so that's the prediction of the population in 2024. And for some reason, most of the population stay the same, but there's a huge drop in the United States and Germany. And those are the 2 places where now I never made this connection. I never heard anyone make this connection. They talked about this on Mafugo so many different times. Nobody ever made the connection.
Right.
But
right.
those are the 2 places where most of the nukes are kept.
That's correct.
Which,
That's correct.
That sounds like that sounds like why, I mean, that just sounds
Yeah,
like
that's right.
the reason why that they did that. I mean, that's pretty solid, that's where the nukes are kept, and that's where the populations drop to, what was it, like, percentage wise, like,
I'm looking at the
20%.
website here. It goes down. It says in 2025 the U.S. population forecast is 65 million.
Wow.
Almost 240. It says 240 million missing. in the United States
Wow.
within
So it's even
within
worse
8
than I
years.
thought.
Within 8 years, yes.
So that's like that's 1/6. So yeah, wow,
Yeah,
that's unbelievable. We're talking
But
like
this is
16% of the population would be left.
right.
84% gone.
And then when you think again of
And that 16% would be the higher classes, upper class, elites and
well, I think it would be people who were living in remote sections of the country that were not affected by the bombs.
yeah.
Well, I don't know where those.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, good
I have
point.
no
Good point. And then also, most of the nukes are kept in the actually though in those remote areas.
That's true too.
So,
I did look
like
at
up here in
that.
Boston, I think I'd feel pretty safe. I don't know where the closest nuke is to here.
Yeah.
It's too populated
Right.
from here all the
Right.
way down to
Well,
New
another
York,
thing, too,
Philadelphia.
Just the east and west coast hold most of the population.
Yeah,
So the
the coast.
population
Yeah,
is so concentrated.
that's why the Democrats go after the because they go after
Yeah.
the big cities and actually I think but then again, yeah, you're right. So even though they're in the middle of the country, how are you going to take out? Well, then again, nuclear winter. I mean, it's going to affect the whole country. So basically, I think that 14% or 16% is basically just what survives. I mean, people survive
I agree.
under people survive out at sea somehow without food, or water. They just wait until it rains and drink.
I agree.
Like there's been amazing stories of survival, 100 and something days at sea. Just So people survive. It's amazing
Now,
what you
I have a
can.
second topic that connects into this, which is also very
Great.
disagreeable. I'm an amateur astrologer, and I try to do that. I've been studying it for years. I've had teachers, and I'm not interested in psychological stuff about like how do you feel about yourself or your emotions. I'm trying to look at it from a very pragmatic or practical point of view, and also to go back and look at historical events to see if there's a correlation with, let's say, World War II with the astrology of in that year. Okay, there aren't too many astrologers that I really respect as analysts, but there's a young man from Israel who lives in Spain who has a website, and his name is Osher, Osher, which is a Hebrew name. I don't know what it means. He's a very nice guy. Osher. Now, Osher specializes in financial astrology. He's very interested in crypto. And he has made a report in the past few weeks, which I believe is very logical in terms of astrology. The planets, as they sit today, particularly this month, continuing through the rest of next year, are a very similar position to what they were in World War II. Okay? Furthermore, the analysis extends to not just the planets in the sky, but how they affect the horoscope of the individual countries. And Mr. Osher actually predicted, he says, we are in World War III right now.
That's what I've been saying for months. This has been going on. It's just in this day and age, it's electronic war. It's economic war. It's all these things. You know.
Now, Osher said something very important. He said he could not say where this was going to be. He says this is going to affect some countries more than others. I don't think he was playing a game. He said he really didn't know where the worst parts of this war would take place. However, all the principal countries, like the United States, and et cetera, Middle East, are certainly, he believes, in the pattern. So this is something not very pleasant, to say the least. And here's a man who I feel is honest and a good analyst. If he was pleading with people, he just said, keep this in mind. Do what you have to do. What can you do? Well, some people can move and try to get to a safer place. But I feel personally that this, just looking at it as astrology, as a science, if you believe it's a science, because it's all based on star patterns. And when a certain star pattern happens, if that's valid, then an event should happen. We're not just making this up. We should look at the past and see what happened in different wars. See, another fact is that this was not from Osher, but this was from my own analysis. The planets also, at this very same time, are very close to what happened in the United States in 1861 when the Civil War started, and in 1776 when the Revolution started.
Yes.
And the country wasn't founded in 1776. That was when the Revolution started. So, for example, if you have a husband and wife, and they have a terrible fight, and that fight leads to divorce. Well, that fight started on 1776.
Yeah.
That's when the marriage split. But it's not legally split until you have a divorce, go through the whole thing. So that's another topic that I could talk about on another call, that I don't believe that America's horoscope is from 1776. It's when the treaty was signed between England and the United States, establishing the borders and respecting each other as independent.
That's when it makes sense.
And that was in May 1782. It was called the Treaty of Paris.
Yep.
And it was.
I'm familiar.
Signed,
yeah, that's.
And it was signed first in Paris, and it was signed secondly here in Philadelphia, and in this country. So it's not valid until both sides sign it.
Yes.
And that would have been here in Philadelphia in May 1782.
And that lines up with astrology.
It does, in my opinion. Not a single person has ever said this or written this. This is entirely my own idea. I'm thinking of making an article about this, but I'm not a professional astrologer, so I don't have a following or anything like that. But you see, here's another part.
I think someone like you could develop a following pretty quick you are a wealth of information, and you know what? I mean, to
Well,
figure that out, that's it.
I'll
People
tell
are
you.
interested in stuff like that.
I'll tell you something that's really shocking. So let's take 1776 date as a birth date for the country. For years and years, ever since I've been studying it, you'll read in the astrology magazine different astrologers debating what hour of the day on July 4th, 1776 fits the personality profile of the United States. And because none of those dates really fit the first personality profile, the astrologers are very scratching their heads, they're very nervous because they can't make it fit, okay? Even to the extent, well, some people will say, well, then it must have really been the 3rd of July, or it must have really been the 5th of July, because it just doesn't fit. That day doesn't match the personality the United States has. Well, the date that was for the signing of the Treaty of Paris, the final signature by the United States government accepting the terms of the treaty, the personality profile of that date is quite shocking. And it reflects many things that happened in this country, such as the Civil War, which killed 2% of the population. It reflects the genocide of the American Indians and many other military adventures that this country performed in South America before World War I. So it basically, if that person born in May 12th, I believe it was, 1782, were a human being, he would say he's a sociopath. He would say he's a sociopath. No question about it. The horrific horoscope. I don't want it to be horrific. It just is what it is. And of course, maybe I'm wrong. But if you accept the concept that if a husband and wife are not divorced until the final paper is approved by court, that's when the divorce is
It's a
final.
very good point. It's a very. I mean, we won our independence that day.
We did not win anything.
I mean, but we got our independence, but we weren't officially.
No, they had no idea they would win. Not the slightest idea.
So on July 4th. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. We declared our independence, I should say. But
Well, that's right.
but it wasn't actually signed until
1782.
the Paris. Yes. Huh.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and as far as astrology, that makes a lot more sense.
Well, it does. It doesn't.
I have something pulled up on the screen right now about the.
I have a friend who's writing a book that will be published this summer, I hope. He is a very deep astrologer. I contacted him. In fact, he lives near you. And I said, what did he think about it? And he said, oh, yeah, he agreed with me. This is not a topic of his interest. He has another set of interests. But he agreed with everything that I said. So I said to him, well, why don't you publish it then? But I don't think he's going to bother because he doesn't really care about it.
Yeah, I mean, something like that is going to get a lot of pushback.
It will. Another factor to consider is this. I'm like you. I'm an amateur historian of American history and other history. And think about this. During the American Revolution, at that time, Great Britain was the most powerful country in the world. They had an enormous
By far.
navy. They were stinking rich.
Yeah.
Rich.
Yeah.
They were so rich they could afford to lose the American colonies and not blink. Didn't bother them a hoot.
In comparison
They had
to
Africa.
how powerful we are compared to the rest of the world,
Well, I'm just saying
it's
at
nothing
that time-
compared to how powerful they were to the rest of the
In
world
that
at that
They
time.
could have easily,
That's what I'm
if
saying.
They wanted to. They could have sent over an
They were
army and squashed everyone flat.
Yeah. They
They could have done it.
it's literally
They
like
were thinking-
I think maybe
to
the most.
understand why.
Yeah.
To understand why, there are two factors. If you read deeply the political situation in London at the time, it was crazy politics. Let's just say it like that, like today with Brexit. It was just all these political parties squabbling. They couldn't bother to pay attention to the American colonies. Number two, they were stinking rich. They had more money than they knew what to do with. And the third factor is maybe it was the will of God. There was some kind of cosmic destiny there that they should just let this happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great shame because the British Empire freed the slaves without a gunshot being fired. I believe it was in 1835, thereabouts. The British government paid every slave owner full value for that slave. all the slaves were set free in Barbados, India, Africa, wherever they had slaves in the British Empire. They were all set free without any violence. And if they had kept this, if the America was still part of the British Empire, the slaves would have been set free in 1835 in the same way.
Yes, but they weren't.
So, was that a good thing? Was that such a great thing that they killed 2% of the population? And then, as a result of the terrible Civil War,
interesting.
the blacks were abused. They weren't. It was very difficult for them afterwards.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like all right, you're free. Good luck. You know, like it's like throwing your kid in the street and like figure it out.
That's right. And if people who are familiar a lot with Caribbean countries like Jamaica and Barbados, they notice that the people there are free and proud and very proud of themselves. They did not have stigma, put on them by the British the way it did happen here in this country. So, the abuse and prejudice that existed here did not exist, in parts of the British Empire where they freed the slaves, because the British would not allow it, and they had a different social system. And they also gave honor and respect eventually to successful black people. So this is something that America did not do. So is that such a great thing to be proud of? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, we were
smart,
30 years behind them on that. Now, what do you think caused that? Just the culture at the time in Britain, or what do you think?
Well, there was very strong lobbying by religious groups in England from before the American Revolution to abolish slavery. And through doing it legally, through the parliamentary system, they eventually succeeded, and the government voted to abolish slavery. And everybody obeyed the law. And the government did it in an honest way. They paid the financial losses of the slave owners, because slaves were very valuable. They were enormously valuable.
Yeah, big time. So they must have really got a huge payout.
They did, and the point is, American slaves were selling, I think, for $50,000 a piece in 1860. The good ones, so that's like $1 million.
Yeah, $50,000 then? Oh, wow. So that would be like what today? Like a couple million?
That is what that's in my memory. I hope it's not wrong. For a prime young man like yourself, who's healthy and a good worker, who'd be able to be productive, a productive person.
Yes.
And a child or an elderly person would have different value.
Yeah. But I don't know if I'd be worth a couple $1 million.
But God bless him. That was a terrible situation, and I really respect the African American community for their endurance. And
yes, I do too. Yeah, I'm Portuguese and Irish. My daughter is Portuguese, 50% Portuguese, 25% Irish, 25% African American.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep, and she's beautiful. Yeah,
well, they have a lot of
blue eyes and curls, and she's beautiful. Yeah. I never put her on camera though, because
No, you should not.
Yeah. I just don't trust anything. I actually her grandmother, my mother, her nana, she's always putting pictures on Facebook like Easter. I made her take them down. Although it's too late, they're already up, the facial recognition and everything. I said, take that down. I said, I don't want pictures of my daughter on Facebook or any of these social media, anything on the internet. But
now we have to think about something else. So
by the way, you were close. 1833.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good for you. The next problem we have to face is this astrological thing. It certainly is true. There's going to be a major world war in the world during next year. There's no question about that. Is
that what it says? No, I'll be honest with you. Normally, I kind of I get scared with astrology as a Christian because
no. Astrology is just the seasons. It's nothing magical. There's nothing occult about it. Not at all.
But you know the stigma connected to it, you know, and it's like they say astronomy is okay, but astrology is
Well,
different.
there's no difference between the two. You see, astrology is astronomy. And in the ancient times, they had to have astronomers or astrologers to make the religious calendar.
Yeah.
Whether it was Jewish or Christian, it was all based on the
But either
planetary
way, I'm
cycle.
not saying like this channel, we're open to everything. You know, if you do feel uncomfortable, I can't see Chap. If anyone feels uncomfortable, say a prayer.
Well,
Say a
so the
prayer.
question is,
That's it.
so this is a theory, and it has so now the question is, again, I say invite people to look at O'Shea's horoscope. He speaks very well. It's a little bit complicated, but let's just assume he's right. So there's going to be, in other ways we can tell there could very well be a world war next year. And we don't know how or where, but it looks very possible.
I think it's already started, but yeah,
I
it's,
do too.
but like as far as like it really ramps up. Like it becomes
That's
like
my question.
deaths
That's
and
my question. And then we all know together of how the government, FEMA, and et cetera, has issued
so when you say
in the House.
forgive my I don't mean to interrupt, but forgive my ignorance, but okay, so when you say like astrology next year, does astrology go by like what is the beginning of a year, let's say, or like how?
I was referring to the next calendar year. The planets, there's certain planets in the sky.
Because I'm trying to pull something up so people can kind of see. I don't know if I can find anything, but
well, look up O'Shea astrology.
O'Shea astrology for 20.
O'Shea financial astrology.
Okay.
SHER O'Shea financial astrology, and he has all these horoscopes there to look at.
Nice.
Of course, he's talking, but you can see if you can turn off the sound, you can see the diagrams of the planets in the sky, and there's certain planets that are kind of in tight clusters.
Yeah.
They're going to be in these tight clusters,
which is
from
rare.
now until the end of up in the sky, in the constellations.
Yes.
And this is rare, and it's going to last from now until the end of next year. So
wow.
It's not something. See, like again, the moon changes signs every 2 days. It's constantly fluctuating. All the sun changes an astrological sign every 30 days or every 28 days. So there's always, usually things are moving, constantly recombining, changing, moving. But see,
so it's a YouTube, correct? YouTube?
Slow-moving planets. Yes, YouTube.
All right, which video?
If I was to live in 1919 or 1937...
So this video or a different one?
Well, you'll have to figure
it looks at must to watch, New World to start. It sounds like it might be this video.
It was only put up 2 days ago.
Yeah,
about the war.
Okay, that helps. So 2 days ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
And what happened was these planets are moving very, very slowly. They're stuck in what we call an adverse pattern, meaning that their energy is very negative. So this tradition.
There's one forward question.
In the middle of World War II. The same planets in the same negative combination during World War II, 1940, 41, 42. So this is happening again.
Wow.
And so my question to you is, what do we do about it? What do we do about it? And I would say the thing to do is to pray hard.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Ask for God to guide us where to go, because you have a family. You don't want to sit there and get hit.
Yeah, and
I think this country is the biggest target in the world.
And the thing is, financially, I don't think I could get out of the country.
Well, I disagree. If it's meant to be, it'll all happen.
That's true too. And you know what? I feel like I actually had a dream, and I didn't want to talk about this on YouTube, but basically, like, I am supposed to be kind of waking people up, that, like they said, the watches on the wall, and it was a very weird dream. I've only had one other dream like that where it was just so vivid, and that was like
Yeah.
it would involve my father who had passed, and he was a great man, and he kind of like I could feel him touch me, and he was like, "It's gonna be okay," and literally
that's
that
fine.
was when I look back, I didn't know at the time, but that was like when the grieving process kind of ended for me.
Yeah.
I kind of accepted it. I was able
Yeah.
to go about my life. And by the way, guys, I actually told this gentleman, but I'm gonna be putting on a video. You guys wouldn't believe the path of my life and things that have happened in my life. You guys know about my background in the military and what I did and the military, and that I have a daughter, things like that. But there's so much more. I was thinking about doing a testimony pretty soon, and I think you guys will be shocked about what you hear. I shared some things with you, even just one thing, and pretty crazy, right?
Well, again,
What I told you.
we're here for a purpose. We're here for a purpose.
Yeah.
And so we have a journey, and we're here for a purpose. And I think God, our guardian angel,
Yeah.
is with us all the time, and the Holy Spirit and Jesus. So, we're not alone. We're not alone.
No. And when
there's
you
a
say,
purpose.
what do you do? That's what I urge everybody to pray. And if you're
That's
kind of
it.
on the
Yeah.
fence and you haven't, you haven't been walking with God, I say that you pray and
That's right.
get open up that Bible, you pray, because
That's right.
this is
I
not
agree completely.
a war of men. This is a spiritual war.
I agree with that too. Also, there's no doubt about it. I agree.
Yeah, it's
But it's coinciding with also physical issues too with the planet, like with the solar stuff. The solar minimum and the explosions on the sun, and
yeah. And no man knows the day or hour. However,
that's right.
there's warning signs, and if you had a checklist as far as warning signs in the Bible, let's say there was 20 of them, you would have like 14 checked off right now. It's unbelievable how much has been fulfilled. I mean, the whole Gog Magog thing, about that, and I mean, from the north. I mean, and then also what countries would align with Israel, what countries would align against Israel, and that was something that people always had trouble with because they're like, wait, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, these countries would never align with Israel. Well, guess what? It's aligned
No, they didn't.
exactly.
You're right.
I mean, there are different names in the Bible, but and then against Israel, Persia and Gog and Magog. I forget. I think Gog is Russia, and Magog would be the leader of Russia. I think, or the other way around. But all these countries that aligned against, and it all lines up with what the Bible says. It's amazing. It really is. And information will go to and fro. I mean,
I'd
look.
just like to add one thing to all that. I agree 100% with everything you said, but America's not the whole world. There's a very big world out there.
Well, I'm talking about the Middle East,
and
but
other
yeah.
civilizations, most of them are Christian, but the same point is that Americans think, and I don't mean you personally, but Americans are so they're so
I agree. I know what
they're
you're
so
saying.
isolated mentally.
Yes.
They see the whole world as being here.
Yes.
They think they're everything. And they're
That's
not.
true. And what worries me is the whore of
world out
Babylon.
there is the world out there is very, very big. And there's
Yes.
a lot of cool stuff happening in that world.
Yeah.
Not all bad.
And you know what? I can relate because before I went in the military, I mean, forget about the world, just in Boston. I mean, we talked about this when we called. I thought that everybody was Catholic and everybody came from an Irish, Italian, black, or Irish or Portuguese background. That's what I thought, literally. And then, I went in the military. This is before, we have all this social media and all that. I go in the military and I realize No, I'm actually in the minority, you know? Like, I'm laughing at the guy from Georgia, like, whoa, what the hell? This is not how you talk. But then every single other person looked at me and said, what? Look how you talk. And it's just, and then you find out they're all Protestant. They're all, I didn't know what an evangelist, I didn't know what any of this was. I thought everyone was Catholic, And
Sure,
that,
sure.
it kind of opened up. And then once I started deploying, I realized, wow, it's just like totally different. You go to other places, the
Were you
world.
in any other countries?
Excuse me?
Did you get outside the United States?
Well, yes, I went to I've been to Germany, I've been to England, and of course I've been to Afghanistan.
Oh, I didn't know that. I see.
Yeah, Afghanistan was for business.
Yeah,
and
of course. Interesting.
and Bahrain.
I see. Well, that's good. You got to see a good deal.
Yes, and it opens up your mind. And and Australia, I went to Australia. Australia is actually any sailor will tell you the best. First of all, they have Pacific Fleet and Atlantic Fleet, right? But the Pacific Fleet, that's where you want to be. And I was stationed at the time out of Hawaii, except I was in an underground base.
Oh my.
Oh yeah, underground base. And it was like from a bird's eye view, it was like a mountain, but at the top of it there was like a pineapple field, but you could, if you really zoom in, you could see like a bulkhead, right? Because I've gone on Google Maps and done it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's right next to Schofield Barracks, and I talked to more Army guys who were like, "What? You're lying. There was nothing next to Schofield Barracks." I'm like, exactly. It was a top secret facility. I was like, you ever done? I always saw you guys running the fence line. You guys ever noticed that parking lot? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, I thought that was for the offices. I said, no, that was the base. It's called NSGA Kania. Now that's not classified, so I don't mind saying it. And now it's they've changed it from NSGA Kania to NSGA Hawaii, and that's right dead center in Oahu, the island of Oahu. That's the main island where Honolulu is.
Right.
And so, that's where I was stationed. And I lived in Wahiwa, which is also dead center of the island. And, but I was also, I wasn't assigned to a particular, ship, but, at any moment, if they needed somebody, you would go. So one time I did go, and I ended up going to Australia, and it's the only place where, like, they just really let loose. When you pull up to Australia, I mean, there's like a myth, that the women outnumber the men 10-1. I mean, that's not true, but that's what sailors say, and it really seems like that because when you pull into port, there's literally like probably about 100 women waiting. Right? I forget about the woman that you're gonna meet later. And if you're a single young man, I mean, it's a good time. And when you get back on the ship, usually, it's permission to board and all that, professional. But when you're in Australia, they loosen up a bit, and it said, I think it was what was it? Permission to board the patio daddy-o. Something like that. And the officer would laugh and salute you when you go in. And Australia was always the greatest place. And then you always end up in Okinawa afterwards, and Japan, South Korea. Pac Fleet is great, That's the way to go. So anybody, if anyone out there is thinking about joining the military, I would say, go Navy. Our Navy is by far the strongest force, like as far as just like one particular branch of any country's military. Our U.S. Navy is the strongest in the world. Now, mind you, people are like, well, what about the Marines? the Marines are actually part of the Navy. They hate
Yeah,
to
I know.
admit it,
Yeah.
but they are.
Sure. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you know, they are their own kind of thing at the same time. But we have the Navy SEALs. You know, the Navy's capable of carrying out a war almost on their own. You know, and that's no disrespect to any of the other branches. I'm a Navy guy, and I'm proud of it. You know, and it's just we are very strong. That's why I heard last night on my Fugal they were the U.S. Navy is worried about the Russian submarine with the drone that can carry a nuke. Now, yeah, that's scary, but trust me, do not be scared of that. Not the Russians. Don't be scared of that. I would be more scared of the Chinese as far as the Navy. And the Chinese doesn't have a great navy. There really isn't a navy that can mess with us. Now, in other areas, Russia and China are very powerful and they are a threat. So don't get me wrong, they are a huge threat.
Well,
But-
I would put it another way.
Yeah, I'd like to hear
They're a
you.
threat- They're a threat if somebody threatens them.
Yes, and that's the thing.
And when you say threat, it always makes it sound like that they're out there to get you.
Yeah. Well, I just mean like
I know
competition.
you're not. I'm just
I should say
for the audience's
competition.
sake.
Yeah.
The audience's sake, and in American parlance, it's because they always talk about the threat as if the Cold War was.
I know. I sound like I'm on CNN spitting propaganda.
Well, it's just a habitual speech that people have. And let me bring up a different topic. Regarding earthquakes. There's a very good,
Earthquakes.
station. There's a very good
Right
station on the
before
internet.
you get into it, because I want to have it pulled up. Can you just give me like, without blowing it for the audience, could you give me like a good search engine idea, and that way I can. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to give you. Yeah, it's called Dutch Sense. D-U-T-C.
Oh yeah, I know Dutch Sense. Okay.
And
Yeah, I love
very,
Dutch
very good.
Sense.
Yeah, I do too.
And actually,
I do.
people would be surprised who he really is. And that's not a bad. I'm not saying like he's someone bad, but let's just say he has another channel.
He was?
He is connected with like another channel. He does other things as well. It's
I
just
didn't know that.
yeah. Well, most people don't know that. I love Dutch
Well,
Sense.
the
It shows I'm
point
not
here is-
subscribed because I don't I have my own personal YouTube
I'll tell you
besides
what,
this.
do you know how to contact him?
Um,
Because I'll tell you why. I would like to send him an email about a geological anomaly on the East Coast, which is very odd, that I know he would be interested to know about because it's very rare and nobody knows about it. And it's scientific, it's validated, it's just being studied now. But the point is that the reason I brought the topic up was going back to the war again. Another interpretation of these planetary problems is not a war, but also earthquakes. In other words, very extreme ones. Dutch Sense talks about the great possibility of the West Coast quakes, the San Andreas Fault and the Cascadia, and then also the New Madrid Fault in the Mississippi River Valley. And he talks about that a lot. He's not predicting that's going to happen at a certain time, but it is inevitable.
it is.
When you study, I've learned so much from watching him. It's very enjoyable.
Yeah, he's great.
But it's educating, and I'm just saying that there's another connection here, in that just the earthquake in the Cascadia and San Andreas Fault.
Yeah, that's what worries me.
Well, that would eliminate 25% of the American population.
Yeah. What about Yellowstone?
And then there's that. Yes, exactly. There's
And that would I think that would trigger
That's
it.
correct. That's right. That could be the thing itself. Then one more comment about that.
And that could be the Deagle thing.
Yes, it could. That's right, exactly. I agree. So it might not be a war. It could be that, you see.
Exactly.
Instead. And here's another point. Everybody has heard of Edgar Cayce. I'm sure you have, right?
Yes.
If you shall
Well, Edgar Cayce's prediction was that America would split in two pieces. And of course, at that time, very few people knew about the He made
Yeah,
that prediction.
that
I
was
think,
way
in the
back. Yep.
1930s, maybe.
Yeah.
When I first read that many years ago, I thought maybe that was symbolic, like the country's symbolically splitting into two pieces. But he did not mean it that way. He meant it physically. He said so. He drew diagrams and so forth. So I'm just thinking again. Casey's prediction, which he was a Christian, was based on his dreams and spiritual feelings. He felt that he had a vision that this was going to happen someday, and he just said it would be in the early 21st century, and no date given.
Yep.
So that could be. So there would be your.
And you know what? When they don't give a date and all that, that's when I find it more believable. You know, when I hear someone say, and that's not just because of what the Bible says, but that's just, I don't know, I'm used to picking out bullshitters, and so like if someone sit there and they have a date and all this, and they sensationalize it like that, and give dates, and it's a lot more believable when someone says, well, I had a vision, and it looks like, it's early 21st century. You know what I mean? It just sounds more believable.
In the same way about astrology, the astrology is simply saying something is going to break. Something is going to happen. It does give a dateline, but it's not saying that the war will be here or there, and it might not be a war. It could be all of, like Yosemite, the Yellowstone thing. It could be that entirely. There would be no need.
That would do it. I think that would be enough.
Yeah, that would do it.
That would be enough for 83% to be gone.
And then
that's a lot of people. Oh.
Dutch says himself, what's been really horrifying.
But the only thing with that, why Germany too then?
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I gave you my reason. But I'm just trying to...
No, I know. We're just throwing ideas, and it's so interesting.
It doesn't say specifically, it says it sees an upheaval and a big change. And the other thing would be that I think Edgar Casey is something to look at. Just think about that. If that Yosemite happens, it would really affect the whole planet.
I still have another hour.
Because of the weather changes and so forth and so on.
Thank you for actually being cool for once.
Well, we don't know, but it's a possibility.
It is. And that's all we can do. I mean, we're not all knowing. None of us are. But, I mean, what you brought to the table tonight with saying that Germany and the U.S., well, that's what the nukes. I mean, that makes so much sense.
It makes so much sense, yeah.
But at the same time...
And the government map that I saw, on which you can look it up later, it's really shocking. I mean, the quantity of weapons stored in Germany is ridiculous. I mean, it's just hard to believe that they have that many.
Well, I think they would rather have them over there than here. I mean, you saw what happened with Chernobyl. They got that. Is that a movie coming out about Chernobyl or a documentary? I think it's a movie actually about Chernobyl and how it really went down.
Yes. I have not seen it.
Well, I guess it's like just coming out in theaters. So, but that's something I would be interested in seeing. I mean, for 50,000 years, that place will be inhabitable.
It's actually not that big of an area, though. It has certainly contaminated a large area, but it's not. Only a small section is uninhabitable, but then it was a relatively small event compared to an atom bomb.
Exactly. Yeah. It could have been a lot worse had let's say,
And that happened due to negligence and poor maintenance of the building.
Well, yeah. I mean, Russia claimed to. They kind of back then at least, they projected power that
Well, that was when the Soviet system was collapsing.
Yes.
And things were falling apart everywhere.
But they wanted to still project power, So.
Well, naturally, but it was pretty not easy to do things were really very shabby.
Yes.
I would say that anyway.
Do you think that Russia is reemerging on? I mean, obviously
Absolutely.
they are, but you know, like
It's completely organic. No GMOs, no genetically modified seeds are allowed.
that blew my mind when I first heard that. That blew my mind. In the U.S., we have GMOs shoved. Mike, I didn't know that. Mike, all right, you know what? Keep going. This is good stuff. All right, so no. First of all, everyone, if you guys just heard him, we all consume GMOs, which we all know is bad, genetically modified, right? Russia, all right. By the way, a Christian country. Yeah.
Very strongly so.
Yes, and
I
they ban GMOs, and I'm gonna let you go from there.
Well, there's not I don't know a great deal more except that.
Well, the second thing you said.
I was there.
They ban microwaves. You said.
They're completely illegal. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't have microwaves.
Anything that's bad for human health is prohibited, and they're very strong about that. Of course, they have you said is it resurging? They have more natural resources than the rest of the world combined. 11 time zones.
Is that true? Because I thought the U.S. was we're self-sufficient on oil. We have so much with Alaska and no.
Well, you see, America's totally polluted, and Russia is so big and it has such a small population. It's relatively clean.
That's true, and you look at. I bet you California drags down our mocks. California. I mean, I learned this on my Fugal last night. The number one most polluted as far as the air quality city in the country is L.A. And the top 7 most polluted cities are all in California. And as far as the West Coast, Seattle is not much better. I mean, I watched a documentary the other day with the homeless and how they basically they're trying to be. They have good intentions. They're trying to be, good to people and things like they. But then again, you have these people who are arrested and released, and you look at the numbers. It's like 150 times arrested and released for just for serious stuff, and they let them just set up camps and homelessness, and it's just. One time I went to San Francisco when I was over in San Diego doing some training, and I went to San Francisco. I was so excited to go to San Francisco, right? And I'm thinking, I might go to Oakland, but I'm gonna be careful, right? No, San Francisco, despite being one of the highest rents along with Boston and Manhattan, it was just, I couldn't believe the homeless population. I mean, it makes sense when the rent is $3,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment, it makes sense, that's where all, you have so much tech going on.
Something's really bad, and that's really a bad situation.
Yeah, it was horrible. I couldn't believe what I saw when I went to San Francisco. I never seen anything like that. I mean, Boston, we have homeless, but there's places for them to go. They don't shit in the streets. I mean, literally, there was shit, like piles of shit. And then I'm like, people don't clean up their dog shit? And the guy I'm with is like, no, that's human shit. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, they just shit in the street.
And that's very dangerous for health reasons.
Yeah, it's horrible. And needles everywhere. I mean, that you see that in every major city, but I'm telling you, I grew up in the second worst neighborhood in Boston, okay? And I never seen anything like what I saw in San Francisco.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you see, again, the culture's falling apart. It's in serious danger. It's in trouble. Things are not okay. Things are not normal. Things are not healthy. And there's a lot of countries that are in a lot better shape than this.
And I think the politics don't help either.
Well, that's why it's the cause of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an independent, so like I used to. I'm ashamed of this, but Obama's first term, I did vote for him. When Bernie first came out, I liked Bernie. Now I can't stand him. He wants Boston Marathon bomber to be able to vote. He wants terrorists in jail to be able to vote. He wants pedophiles who are in jail to be able, not when they finish their sentence and 5 years down the line. No, while they're in prison, he wants them to be able to vote. Obviously, now I'll be honest. I did 6 months in county for an assault and battery. Okay. That's how I lost my clearance, which is why I want to give my testimony because I have a crazy story. So, anyway, I did 6 months, and that's county. And I'm telling you, people are going to vote the way the pod boss tells them to vote, or the way that the head of their race tells them to vote, or in certain places like Texas, let's say, the way the warden tells them to vote. So that is not the way to go. Trust me, that is not the way to go. Trust me.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable that I came up with that idea. And, and then, I get these comments. I made a video about it. I don't know if you saw it, but I get these comments, people saying, well, there's a bigger picture. He's saying everyone should be able to vote. Well, no, not everybody. Not people in prison. Not terrorists like the Boston Marathon bomber. Not pedophiles. I mean, while they're in prison, illegal immigrants. I mean, the Democratic Party, and I'm an independent, so I'm not like this diehard Republican. Don't get me wrong, but right now, I like Donald Trump. I do. I do think he's done some good things for this country. There's certain things that do worry me about him, but at the same time, I am happy he is the president and not Hillary Clinton. You look at Rob Emanuel. Look at Rob Emanuel's city in Chicago.
My opinion about him is a little different. I don't think he has very much power. Because I think when he
that's what I
wants to do
meant by
something,
my worries.
He's blocked right and left by other groups of people who think that they can stop him just because they want to. And he's in a very tricky situation.
And you're not talking about Democrats.
No.
Yeah.
Both parties. Both
Yeah.
parties.
Yeah.
And different elements in the government that want to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Such as all the people with these investigations, the former head of the CIA, the former head of the FBI, publicly on talk shows said that Donald should be gotten rid of.
Yeah.
Which means killed. They used another phrase, I forget what it was, but those men should have been arrested on the spot. But the government itself is very dysfunctional, very corrupt, and none of it's Donald Trump's fault.
Yeah, and
So
people
he
think that.
And listen to this.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you this for a fact. Foreign countries, foreign news, are very aware, and they talk about the fact that Donald has no power.
I wouldn't say no power, but I would say limited power.
No, well, the foreign governments feel they cannot discuss anything with him because he doesn't have the power to deliver. It's not his fault. It's not because they don't like him.
No, it's the
But
system.
they can see the facts in front of them.
Yeah. I mean, think about this, right? We change presidents every 4 years, sometimes every 8 years. Yet, the country, the whole government still runs basically the same. There might be some different executive orders, some things might change, but for the most part, things still run. This country would not run smoothly with the change of power every 4 years, which tells you that there is a deep state, or in particular, there is a faction in the government with power.
The factions with the power are the ones that have the stolen money. They're the ones that have the stolen trillions.
Yeah.
And they use that money to stay in power.
You're talking about, I think, the 30 trillion. The 30 trillion, which is basically what our debt is, surprisingly.
Right.
And that went missing on 9/11, huh? And right where the plane hit.
It's not missing. It's stolen.
Well, I mean,
It's in
I'm sorry.
somebody's
I'm
bank
sorry.
account.
The
I'm
money,
just teasing you.
the
I
money.
know it's missing.
Yeah, the money
See,
wasn't
that's a
actually
euphemism.
there, but
Why
the
would
records.
the mainstream media doesn't say it's stolen. It's missing.
Yeah, missing.
Well,
I
you
know.
know,
How does 30 trillion, our whole debt,
And where is
go
it?
missing?
And that money is not here.
Yeah. What I meant is
Now,
the
you know,
records. The
a lot of-
records
you know, a
went
lot of
missing.
people
Is what I'm
say,
saying.
I don't have an opinion on this, but I have been seeing lately some financial analysts saying that a good deal of that money could have been used to develop China so much
Ah.
because they've just come out of nowhere.
Have you heard
All
about the
these
ghost
buildings.
cities?
Yes, I have. I have no opinion about that at all. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think it's a foolish obsession to care about it one way or the other.
Yeah.
I don't think it means a damn thing.
China is known for just like creating fake anything. Counterfeit. I mean, they counterfeit anything.
Well, you know, there's another possibility. This just occurred to me this very moment. Recently, I saw a map showing where these fake cities, these ghost cities, are located, and they're all in one place.
Yes.
And they're all east of Beijing, near the coastline, over towards that faces Korea.
Right by North Korea. Yep. That's what I was thinking. Yep.
But I had another idea just this moment. The pollution in Beijing is so bad. Maybe they're thinking of moving people over there to to just shut down Beijing.
Huh.
Because of the pollution, you see.
Wow.
That's something that they would do.
The only thing is why have the Eiffel Tower though? You know?
See, they can't. Well, because that's where everyone's going to be living, and they'll be. See, in other words, the pollution in Beijing can't be changed. There are all these factories and whatever there, so they can't get rid of those. They need them, but they really could move a lot of the people out. Like the government, they could move the government out of there. You see what I mean?
They have
Not
those.
all of it, but maybe a big chunk of it.
They have
Maybe
the
that's for health
trains.
reasons.
Those like
Because they're
the
not,
super trains.
It's killing people. The weather is so bad. I mean, the pollution's so heavy. So it's the worst on the planet. So maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe they're just going to ship a lot of people over there to save their health. You see?
That could be it. That could be it. Yeah. I mean, all we can do is make educated. Let me see. So
they have people to spare. They have plenty of people.
Oh yeah. I mean.
I've been there twice.
Oh, have you?
And I can tell you it's wall to wall.
Did you go to Hong Kong or did you actually go to Shanghai?
Sure. I was everywhere. And
Wow.
the thing is that I had been in India, earlier on another trip, and I thought China was going to be like India, very crowded. I mean, it made India look empty by comparison. I was shocked because I went all over the whole country. It's wall to wall people. It's wall to wall people. It's packed.
Wow.
There. See the map of China. It shows like a whole lot of area.
Yeah.
2/3 of it is uninhabitable. It's a desert.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. People don't realize. They look at it, they're like, well, I mean, it's like the U.S., but if we filled the whole thing up. No.
Right.
Most
like
of it's
Australia,
uninhabitable.
It's like the center of Australia. No one lives there.
Yeah.
And they would put people there if they could, but it's not cost effective because the environment is so severely bad that it's too expensive to try to build infrastructure there. So that's why they don't bother. They can't. So they're stuck in a very narrow area of space. And they're very, I'm just saying that they've done fantastically well over the past 20, 25 years. They went from being absolutely dirt poor to being a very important world power.
Yeah, Napoleon himself said, do not wake the sleeping giant of China, something like that.
Well, it's awake now.
Yeah, it is. Oh, well awake, yes.
But I do think that in spite of that,
there was actually breaking news today that they are agreeing to the... Let me pull it up to make sure that I'm not they are agreeing to Trump's trade to his trade negotiation.
I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, I mean they gave in. I mean, and these are, I thought they would never give in because, they're very proud people. I mean, the Japanese.
No,
I mean,
the bottom line for them is business.
Exactly.
Keep the business going, and they're making preparations for worst case scenarios, just like Russia. But they're going, because both Russia and China are going to go on the gold standard. Because the American currency is the American government's bankrupt, and the currency is going to when the government finally goes bankrupt, the American dollar won't be worth anything.
When do you think that'll happen, if ever?
Within 2 years.
Oh, it kind of lines up with the astrology you were talking about.
Yes.
Huh.
And I think that there's not a single person out there that thinks that it won't happen.
Yeah, I've seen so much. It's just sometimes
there's a reason. There's a simple reason for this. The money was stolen. Okay, it's stolen. The country was robbed. That's why it will go bankrupt. It's not because of welfare. Even the ridiculous military spending.
I know. I hate when they blame food stamps and welfare. I hate that. It has nothing to do. That is such a small percentage.
It's just a small percentage.
Yeah, and you know what? We should take care of our people. I'm a veteran, and you have no idea. Like, when I was out of work, like when I was in school, it was so hard for me to get. They denied me food stamps. I mean, but then, like, the next person behind me, they didn't speak English, and they had 6 kids, and I'm not being, like a racist or anything like that. It's just the truth. They got something like $500 something. I ended up asking them. I said, "How much?" And one of the children spoke. They said, and they translated, and they got like $500 something a month in food stamps. I got denied. Me, single father, veteran. Unbelievable. Anyway, so I have the story up right now. So China. You want to hear the story? Here's the headline.
Yes.
China Xi signals approval for Trump's trade war demands. Now that's a huge win for Trump in America.
Yes, it certainly is helpful, but it's not going to solve the financial problem that's underlying the whole situation.
If you don't mind, I'm going to read the article real quick. Okay, so Chinese President Xi Jinping addressed some 40 world leaders at the Belt and Road Forum in Beijing, but his speech may have been aimed at a head of state not in the audience, U.S. President Donald Trump. Xi spent a large portion of his speech Friday addressing Chinese domestic reforms, pledging to address state subsidies, protect intellectual property rights, follow foreign investment in more sectors, and avoid competitive devaluation of the yuan. All 4 issues the U.S. I was about to say, those are basically what Trump wants, those 4 things. All 4 issues the U.S. is addressing in trade talks with Beijing. So it looks like we might get a trade deal with China. And so, anyway, Xi went on to say, "We will establish a binding enforcement system for international agreements," he said, adding that China will standardize all levels of government in terms of issuing and administrative licenses and market regulation, and also eliminate improper rules, subsidies, and practices that impede fair competition and distort the market. I mean, literally, it sounds like he's talking to Trump.
Well, you know what? Another thing is it's good for China to do that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they can't keep at this pace.
Another thing to consider is because of the way their government is structured, it'll happen.
Yeah.
They'll put the order in, and everyone will obey it.
I mean, this is huge, though. This is huge. I mean, for China to agree to his trade negotiations, that will open up so much. I mean, all of a sudden.
I'm not in the least bit surprised.
Yeah, I'm not either. I knew it would happen eventually, but now that it's happened, I mean, this is great. I mean, there's a huge win for Trump. I mean, he's gotten all these countries to renegotiate their trade deals. Okay,
Right.
but the biggest one was China. You know, so we had to do the tariffs. We had to do all this. We have all this kind of like tension, and now we've been kind of like at an electronic war. But now, if he's agreeing to trade negotiations, I don't know. Maybe he realizes getting too close to actual casualties and real war, and he's kind of just agreeing to this. I don't know.
I don't have an answer except I'll say this.
But that's what the Japanese did. Remember the Japanese in World War II?
I think the American government does not have very brilliant or intelligent or capable people in the system. They're not the greatest brains in the world. There's a lot of hacks.
I agree.
These are the people that.
No, I agree. I know what you mean.
Waste the money, and these are this is the permanent government administrators you were talking about. So this is a big problem. They're like dead weight. Okay, so they have power and they push agendas for this country. So he's going in one direction, trying to fix something in one. Like he's putting out a fire on the front porch, but there may be one on the back porch and one in the attic in the meantime. So he's doing good things to take care of those problems, but the quality of intelligence in his administration is very poor. But I'm not saying it would be easy to improve it.
In his administration, yeah. I mean, he has his own son-in-law.
I don't blame him for picking bad people because that's all that's available.
Exactly, because, you know, sometimes what's even more important than, I mean, sadly, you know, the best person for the job is somebody who you know is actually on your team, if you know what I mean.
That's true. That's right. Well, as you said, it's a very big achievement. It's a very positive thing, and that helps bring peace. That creates balance in the world. Definitely.
Yes.
Good balance.
Yeah, it's not just good for U.S. or China. It's good for everybody.
It is. It's very much good. You're absolutely right. That's the whole point. And I think that you'll see more of that, but there are these other elements that are going in opposite directions, and it's very hard for him to control them. It's hard for him to call them off. I mean, people in his own team who are completely off the wall. So that's what it is. He's kind of all alone there, but that's perceived worldwide. Everyone wishes him the best, but they realize it's not his fault if he can't perform, because he's fighting a war in his own country inside the United States. There's a civil war going on here.
There is.
The whole world knows it. The Americans are such babies they can't handle the truth, but everyone around the world, they talk about it openly. With sadness, no one's happy this is happening. No one in Japan is saying, "Aren't we glad the Americans are all such a mess?" No one says that.
Oh, definitely not in Japan.
It's scaring people. People are worried and frightened that things here are such a mess. Now, I'll ask one last question, and then I'm going to go. This just occurred to me a few hours ago. I looked on the internet. You've heard of Antifa? Is that how you pronounce it?
Antifa.
Okay, Antifa. Thanks. I did a Google search. How many people are members of Antifa in the United States? And I couldn't find on several pages of Google any answer at all.
It's usually like outcasts in colleges.
Mainstream media is covering it up.
Yeah.
There were all kinds of namby-pamby excuses saying that, Antifa is to protect themselves against right-wing extremists.
It's bull.
So we know it's bull.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is, I wonder really how many there are. You know,
there are some. It's just, but you know where you find them? You find them next to colleges where outcasts go in Starbucks.
Let's go back to my question. But see, again, there's a lot of people in colleges, in the big cities. The whole left wing crowd.
Yes.
So among the left-wing crowd, Antifa or their followers, how many are there? Are there 500,000? Are there 1 million? See what I'm getting at? Then if you have
Yeah.
if you have a civil disturbance in this country, the president declares martial law. He will have to round all of them up. We know they're all identified and known. The government knows who they are.
Well, they know. I mean, they cover their faces when they're at their rallies, but they're not that smart because then they go on social media and talk about it. They're not that
How
smart.
many do you think there are personally? I think there's over 1 million.
I would say I think it's a little less. I think it's probably 300,000.
Well, I hope you're right. I think it's way, way more than
But
that.
as far as the ones who are really fanatical, I think it's only but as far as members, period, 300, a third of 1 million.
People who really support it, they may not be getting a payroll from it, but they really are believers. And I'll tell you, there's a lot more than you think. And here's the issue: they're going to have to be rounded up and put in camps because they're going to go. They're the ones who are
See, I would hate to see that.
to overthrow the government.
But then you know what? The only thing that would be good that would come of that is we would see the Walmarts all of a sudden show their true colors, and we would see the FEMA camps how quick that they can set them up.
Just a question. Look it up on the internet. It's amazing how it's all treated with such delicacy by the mainstream media, like these poor little babies, these poor little Antifa babies, poor little things, they're so vulnerable. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
So
and you know what? And you know what they do?
trouble.
They carry around these communist flags and all this.
Right.
And what's gonna happen? Because you know what? I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it, and I don't care. This has nothing to do with you. This is just my opinion. We're going to war with Iran, and it's gonna be bad. And if people are at home carrying these types